97.3 Accra. Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
City News.
.3 Citi FM. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the holiday edition of Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sammy. We are here tonight, and I'm here with
Akosia Oche.
Coming up in the next 1 hour, 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes before this briefing, I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol red notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender.
Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta put on Interpol red notice after special prosecutor accused him of failing to make himself available. Also coming up.
I'm saying that we haven't received any letter. No, none of the executive have been serving a letter about that. So still, we know that Luta continua. We are still going on, holding on to we are still on our ground.
Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association refused to call off strike despite a court injunction secured by the National Labour Commission. Tonight, we hear from the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Akanda, on measures to get the nurses back to work. Later on Eyewitness News, Bank of Ghana records 9.49 billion cedis in operating loss in the year 2024 compared to 13.23 billion in 2023. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on these stories and others. Also coming up in business.
Cement prices expected to reduce over cedi appreciation.
Eyewitness News is live on our affiliates across the country. Around the globe, we are on citinewsroom.com. Talking about affiliates, if you're in the Western region, you can hear us on Beach 105.5 FM and Sky 93.5 FM in Takrady. In the Bono region, you can hear us on Greener 95.9 FM in Sunyani. In the Ashanti region, Adriampa 99.9 FM, as well as the Volta region, you can hear us on Heritage 107.3 FM in Hohoe and Freedom 88.1 FM in Sogakope. In the Northern region, Radio Gaki 88.3 FM in Saboba and Quality FM 88.7 FM in the Upper East region. And in the Northeast region, you can hear us from Noba 98.1 FM. You can send us your text messages and WhatsApp as well on the number 0549 986 996. 0549 986 996. Akosia has our first story.
Now let's start off here. The Interpol has listed Ghana's former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta as wanted on its official website. Well, this comes after the Office of the Special Prosecutor redeclared him wanted for failing to honor an invitation for interrogation on June 2 this year. Now, Ken Ofori-Atta is being investigated for alleged involvement in high-profile cases, including contractual arrangements between the Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority, as well as procurement and financial transactions linked to the failed National Cathedral project. In an interview with Citi News, private legal practitioner Martin Pebu said the listing increases the chances of Ofori-Atta's arrest.
For the investigation, it means that the chances of his arrest have been increased substantially. Yes, so that because with the red notice, it means that all the countries that Interpol enjoys cooperation from, they will be looking out, or all the countries that form part of Interpol will be looking out for the Ofori-Atta. So it means that the chances of his identification and arrest and possible extradition have been substantially increased, and that's good. It's good for accountability. Now, when we come to Ofori-Atta, you would find that this is very bad for business for him. Because he's a businessman. Businesses don't like to deal with persons who have a questionable character. I've not said he's been convicted. I'm saying questionable. So you see that once again we come to optics. The simple thing is that if you were living above board, why is your name on the red notice? So it's bad for him for business. So his business is going to suffer, he himself, in terms of reputation, is going to suffer because this is the second time he's going on the list.
You heard that from Martin People. He's a private legal practitioner.
Let's go to the phone line and speak to Mr. Frank Davis. He's lawyer for Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta on this matter. Mr. Davis, good evening. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Good evening, and another welcome evening to your viewers and esteemed listeners.
On the 2nd of June this year, the special prosecutor addressed a press conference and he promised that he was going to get the Interpol involved in this matter. And now that has been done. What is the next option, or what are the options available to the legal team of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta as far as this red notice is concerned, sir?
Why? What options do you answer from the legal team? He's declared him and he's been put on the list. So it's up to those who have been notified to do what they have to do. So we are going to keep our cards close to our chest. He has advertised him. He's now on the Interpol red alert notice. Fine. I mean, what is there for us to do? He has proclaimed he's going to ensure his first entry into the country. So that is the process he has commenced. So we'll wait for the outcome.
I know you have a case with a special prosecutor at the High Court on this particular, issue. With this red notice, what happens to the case at the High Court?
You just said the matter is pending in court. It's sub judice, so it didn't be worth my while to comment on the matter which is pending before the law court. As and when the court hears the matter, the Ghanaian public will get to know what the court has decided. But it's refreshing for you to know that the matter is before the law court. So when the court determines the merits of the application we have filed, the whole Ghana, indeed, the whole world will know.
At the last press conference by the special prosecutor, the issue of the health of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta came up, and there were some, pictures and documents on social media about the medical record or the medical letter in respect of Mr. Ofori-Atta. Have you been able to, get this particular letter to the special prosecutor, and what is the current state of Mr. Ofori-Atta as far as the health issue is concerned, sir?
I have maintained and reiterated time without number that for the special prosecutor to say that he hasn't cited that medical report is a blatant falsehood. And it's unfortunate that holding such a public office, he will be going around doing what he's doing. The processes that were filed in court on the 27th of May, and I'm going to say this for the last time, the processes that were filed in court on the 27th of May 2025, pursuant to the application that was heard by the court on the 28th, the bundle of processes that was served on the special prosecutor, the medical report was in that bundle. Unless he doesn't read his court processes thoroughly. So for him to come and say that he hasn't cited any medical report is a blatant falsehood. And as an officer of the court, I find it distressing. The letter that was delivered to his offices on the 28th of May by lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta referenced the medical report. What was it that was referencing? Well, there was no medical report in the bundle of processes. We just have to be honest in our dealings with people when we are entrusted with discretion. It is only facility ingenious for the officer of the special prosecutor to say that he doesn't have a medical report relating to the health of Ken Ofori-Atta. When a medical institution writes and authenticates and certifies that somebody is plagued with an ailment, you, a trained lawyer who is not a medical doctor, will question that. I find it very, very ridiculous and absurd.
The special prosecutor said that this particular medical, report was an afterthought. I'm sure you heard this. You've heard this particular pronouncement from the office of the special prosecutor.
Does he understand the meaning of the word afterthought? Does he understand the meaning of the word afterthought? What is an afterthought? Ken Ofori-Atta was supposed to be in this country latest by the 30th of May. All right? The correspondence, the letter sent, the extent of correspondence between himself and us, the lawyers, was that Ofori-Atta was to be in this country by the 30th of May. So that the in-person interview will be held on the 2nd of June. Between the 14th of May, indeed from March, and from the 14th of May till the 27th of May, when the letter, well, to the 28th when the letter was delivered, and the 27th when the court processes were trialed, Ken Ofori-Atta developed some complications in his health status. The lawyers thought, the doctors thought they had to perform a procedure on him. And the procedure that was going to be performed would have rendered his travel a risk. It was that medical report that was sent. And it was that medical report that was contained in the bundle of processes filed on the 27th of May. How can that be an afterthought? How can that possibly be an afterthought? The man was supposed to come on the 31st. A medical letter or report is delivered to you on the 27th. A consequential letter is written on the 28th. How can that possibly be an afterthought? It is only someone who doesn't understand the clear meaning of afterthought who will say that. And I'll pray him to consult his Chambers Dictionary for the meaning of the word afterthought. How can this be an afterthought? Do we control our health? Do we as humans control our health? You, Sammy, between now, God forbid, between now and when you sleep, you know what's going to happen to you? In the same way as I talk loudly now, between now and the evening, before I sleep, do I know what's going to happen to me health-wise? Well, he should go around joking with the health status of people because he holds a public office. But we all live by his providence.
So are you seeking to
live by his providence?
Are you seeking to engage Interpol on the back of this, considering the health, stature of Mr. Kano?
I will not answer. I will not answer you. Whatever I have to do as a lawyer is between myself and my client. It's privileged and confidential. I will not answer that question.
Agreed.
Go and ask him. He has activated the process. Let us see what rolls out.
Agreed.
You think we are sleeping lawyers? We are not sleeping lawyers. Ken Ofori-Atta has fundamental rights, both as law and as a person. And you will not suffer indignity in this shameful manner. We know what to do as lawyers.
Mr. Davis, how is Mr. Ofori-Atta? I don't know if you've spoken to him yet, but then how is he responding to this notice?
Mr. Ofori-Atta is well. If I say well, not health-wise. He's well in his mind. This has been up and coming since day one. Indeed, when somebody has notified you and has notified the Office of the Chief of Staff that he's embarking on the travel, not for fun. It wasn't a fun trip. He delivers a letter to the Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Debra, on the 22nd of January. Before that, he had delivered another letter to the then Chief of Staff, Honorable Akusia Premo Osopari, on the 2nd of January, that I'm embarking on a medical conference. And then on the 10th of February, you serve him a letter to appear in your offices. Why? Is he a spirit? How is he going to come to you on the 10th when he has sought permission to travel on the 27th and indeed flew out of the country? Is it not to mortgage his personal liberty and infringe on the freedom of movement? Was it not a trap set for him? When Ofori-Atta was in this country, the special prosecutor didn't know he was here. Before Ken Ofori-Atta left on the 26th on the 22nd of or 22nd of the 24th of January? Didn't the office of the president just know that Ken Ofori-Atta was in this country, and if he had anything to do by way of charges, he couldn't contact him at that time, waited for him to travel? Come on. Is this prosecution or persecution? You deliver a letter on the 10th, and you want the person to attend before you on the 12th, knowing very well that he was not in the country. He went and left the letter in his office, in the conference of his home. How was it supposed to come and see you?
Mr. Davis, how do you react to people who say that Mr. Ofori-Atta is using his medical condition just to run away from justice?
Wait until you are sick. And those people, tell them wait until they are also sick. He's using his medical condition to run away from where? Run away and go where? Ken Ofori-Atta, Kenneth. And I know you have to go for Ofori-Atta. Who flee justice? Why? Is he invisible? A man with such an international stature. If you run and go and hide where? Under the sea? He will go and hide under the sea. That no one can locate him. I don't want to hear that. It is offensive. It is really, really offensive. No matter what he has done, he has held public office and served this country. He should be accorded some little modicum of respect and not be treated casually in this pedestrian and rather offensive and dignified manner. He will run away and go away. You think the work of a prosecutor is just to be holding press conferences and spewing out, excuse my language. The duty of every prosecution is to prove the guilt of an accused person beyond all reasonable doubt. Beyond all reasonable doubt. There is no burden on the accused person. So Ken Ofori-Atta should not be judged in the court of public opinion and by the special prosecutor before he faces the court. His accusers should prove his guilt. He has nothing to prove.
Mr. Davis, thank you very much for your time. Frank Davis is lawyer for Ken Ofori-Atta, former finance minister of the Republic. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. Let's read some of your messages which have come in thick and fast. Kwame says, listening to Frank Davis on Ken Ofori-Atta issue is annoying. His tone and language is not the best. He should think about it. Edmond from B Hill says, tell lawyer Frank Davis, we humans control our health because if we eat right, exercise, sleep well, and live a good life, we won't know anything called sickness. We should go read and come back again. Akosi has a related story on this particular issue.
Speaking about the special prosecutor, Kisi Ejabin, he has been advocating for a more robust and effective asset declaration regime for public officials and individuals undergoing lifestyle audits. Or speaking at a high-level conference on Ghana's anti-corruption architecture, Kisi Ejabin stressed the need to confiscate properties whose ownership cannot be justified by the income of those holding them.
Where a person's resources far outstrip his legitimate income, the unexplained portion should be liable to confiscation. This will be a critical tool also to detect fraud and undeclared income for tax purposes. A gift to a public officer by a person who has or seeks to have any dealings with a government or public agency should be deemed to have been given and received corruptly as an inducement or reward. Further, there should be a more robust and effective asset declaration mechanism in respect of public officers and persons undergoing lifestyle audit to close the loop on the amassing of illicit wealth and to enhance accountability. We should move beyond mere repositories to a system of verification and tracing undeclared assets. However, and I'm coming to disappoint some of you, I do not and I will not add my voice to calls for the publication of assets for public scrutiny. In our experience, it would be unhelpful and would merely subject public officers to inordinate public curiosity and the specter of the real likelihood of reprisals against their assets. In my estimation, a publication of who has declared or has not declared his assets in the context of a workable asset verification and tracing model would be sufficient to assure the integrity of the asset declaration system.
That was the Special Prosecutor Citi Ejabeng. Well, he also described the office as the country's best tool for tackling corruption. He acknowledged that while the office has its shortcomings, there's a clear opportunity to retool and strengthen it for greater effectiveness.
The OSP model represents our best bet in tackling corruption, and upon this architecture, it is a unique and never before seen remedy designed as a cure of the inadequacies of the traditional methods we had previously adopted, which are characterized by the lack of real legal and enforcement powers and independence of action. As the model retains total control over the initiation of the conduct of investigations and the institution of criminal proceedings. Then again, the model affords political neutrality and non-selectiveness in the fight against corruption. For the first time in our history, the OSP model forcefully carries the fight against corruption not only in the province of public officers and public life, but also among politically exposed persons and persons in the private sector. The model is not without its shortcomings, as is suffered by every human construct. Yet we have a golden opportunity to, once again, retool and reshape it to fit our purposes.
Special Prosecutor Citi Ejabeng speaking at the same event, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman said the introduction of measures such as the Operation Recover All Loot by the John Mahama administration will help tackle corruption. While she stressed that the upcoming Kanka will require bold and coordinated efforts across all fronts.
His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has demonstrated his commitment to revitalizing Ghana's anti-corruption architecture. Operation Recover All Loot, or ORAL, is an effort to send a clear message that corruption will not be tolerated. The launch of a comprehensive code of conduct for all presidential appointees establishes clear ethical standards from the highest levels of government. His commitment to reviewing the 1992 Constitution to make it fit for purpose to meet our current governance challenges is yet another demonstration of the President's commitment to fight against corruption. The appointment of a presidential advisor on the National Anti-Corruption Program, the first of its kind since 1992, represents a strategic approach to coordinating our efforts.
That was Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman speaking there at the National Anti-Corruption event held in Accra earlier today.
This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We'll read more of your text messages. This one's from Jonathan in Akati said, it is very surprising that Ken Ofori-Atta is refusing to step down even at the time that he was critically ill and being flown into the country for vetting. Today, running away from accountability. Tia Malik says, survivor of the fittest, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta was ignorant. He didn't know that he will one day be accountable for the many things that he did against this country. Daniel from Sandama says, kudos to the Office of the Special Prosecutor for boldly declaring Ken Ofori-Atta a wanted man. This is decisive and must be commended by all. Let's do another one from Akapol in Ahafo. Says, the OSP must stop disturbing our ears and send the former finance minister to court if he has really committed any crime. The OSP must start court processes since trial in absentia is permissible under our current judicial system. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear from the health minister on measures government tends to put in place to get the nurses back to work.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work? Have you lost your appetite even for your favorite dish? Viral Blood Tonic is a nutritionally balanced, pleasant-tasting tonic fortified with iron and vitamins to boost your appetite and energy levels for high performance. Viral Blood Tonic, easy to take and good for the family. Viral from Danex Iting Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advert is FDA approved.
Are you ready to lead like never before?
Ready to master the art of strategy and inspire teams that thrive?
It's the Management Bootcamp 2025.
An exclusive high-impact training for mid to senior pros.
Learn from Ghana's finest industry minds, brought to you by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM.
From the trusted voices of excellence, Citi FM and Channel 1 TV, comes an elite training experience designed to sharpen your strategy, leadership, and communication.
Make a date for the Management Bootcamp 2025 from Sunday the 22nd of June to Saturday the 28th of June 2025. The venue is the Platinum Bay and Passion Base Hotels.
Call 0242-011-424 to register now.
The Management Bootcamp 2025. Lead forward. The Management Bootcamp 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 Citi FM.
Oh, jump on now. Go, go. Google me. At what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I don't change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel where I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Cause now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mindset be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my go be fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my go be inside?
I give you info. Make a feel the go be too small.
Go, the go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. As you are aware, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association have been on strike. It started on the 3rd and the 2nd of June with the wearing of red armband, and then on the 4th of June, they decided to withdraw OPD services, and is biting hard in the various public hospitals across the country. The Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, was in some public hospitals yesterday, touring these places to see what's happening as far as the strike by the nurses are concerned. Let me speak to him. He's joined us on the telephone line on his observation during the tour and the way forward for this strike. Honorable, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, my brother.
You were on a tour of some public health facilities in the Greater Accra region, and per your observation, what can you say?
Oh, good evening to your listeners. And, what I can say in summary is that I'll continue to appeal to our brothers and sisters and nurses to return to the facilities to ensure smooth running of these facilities. They are very essential in the management of these health facilities, and we all should endeavor to prevent avoidable death. I believe that whatever the issues are can always be resolved around the table. Strike is not a solution to the matter, especially with regards to the nature of their work. That I will continue to assure them as their mother ministry. We will do our best to ensure that whatever demand or request that is reasonable and legitimate will be pursued to the latter. But hey, with the greatest of respect, I think that you don't sit around the table when you are on strike. And so our doors are open. We'll continue to listen to them and make sure we do our best I don't have a problem when people are working and they are demanding better conditions of service. I don't have a problem about that. But how to go about that is my issue. I think we must handle it well, and I think we can do better. But the fact remains that since I became the minister responsible for health, I've engaged them, and I'll continue to engage them. We've met more than 6 times. We have talked together. We have sat to put maximum effort, resolve other complicated issues that they didn't have to go to strike or go on strike before those issues were resolved. And so I'll continue to engage them till what they are requesting is implemented.
According to the nurses, there's already an agreement signed in May 2024, and all that is left for the implementation.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right. I've heard the nurses say that there's already an agreement signed in May 2024. All what is left is the implementation of this agreement, and so they don't really understand why the implementation has become a challenge. And so coming back to come and sit on the table for a negotiation or renegotiation is something they don't understand. From where you sit, is that really the case?
Brother, just like you have said, this agreement was supposed to have been implemented in 2024. It was inherited, and governance is continual. And so when you inherit assets and liabilities, and you just don't do things. You have to understand, you engage, and you continue what is best for the country. I think that we must continue to engage on that matter. It's not a straightforward matter. Oh, go and implement it, and that is all. Anybody who knows about some of these issues will tell you that it's not as simple as you have put it. And so it is very important to engage, to even understand why it has not been implemented till now. You must understand the background. You just don't implement things because you have come to meet them and then you continue to implement them. I mean, you don't do that.
Would you mind to tell us some of the challenges that has resulted in the non-implementation?
No. That at this point, I don't think that is necessary. At this point, I don't think that must come from me. At this point, I don't think that analysis must come from the minister. No. But
minister, the non-implementation is what is resulting in this strike, and the ordinary Ghanaian is suffering.
I have told you that that is not as simple as you are saying, unless of course you think it's simple. That's your opinion. I have told you that at this point, I don't have to be debating on the merit and demerit whether it is legitimate. No, that's not my poster at the moment. My poster is that respect must be reciprocal. I have engaged them, and I'll continue to engage them. Whatever it is, you don't implement things in vacuum or in the street. You understand? So there's a need. Well, unless you also don't respect my opinion, there's a need for us to engage. It is very, very important. That's what I'm saying. It's very, very important to continue to engage, and I have engaged them on several occasions. They never said that because it is left for the implementation, we are not engaging. You understand? So it's not as simple as you're saying. It is not. It is not as simplistic as you put it. So please, and it will never lie with me to come and come and stay on your radio and start analyzing the issues one after the other. No, at this point, I don't think that is expected of me, and I will not fall into that trap. No, I will never do that, please.
I'm not sure this is really a trap, because the Ghanaian people just want to know what is holding back this whole implementation. But I understand your points and I get where you are coming from. But then until the negotiation and renegotiation, the nurses will still be on strike, and the ordinary Ghanaian will suffer, because we know pregnant women go to the hospitals to see medical care and they are turned away because the nurses are unavailable. And so as health minister, the blame will once again shift to you and the government.
I will continue to appeal to them to go back to the hospitals whilst we continue to engage, my brother. Because it's exactly what you are saying, it's exactly the reason we are saying that, look, they must go back, even if one person who is supposed to go to the hospital to work as a nurse doesn't go. It still has impact on the smooth running of the facilities. And so we will continue to engage them and ask them to go back. I don't think that it is government intention to intimidate anybody, but I don't also think that it is also right and proper for any union to try to hold government to ransom. I don't think so. We have a country to govern, and we must all respect the rules and the laws of the land. And as leaders of this country, we must also take decisions that is the best interest of the nation, of the country. And so I think that we must continue to engage. Have you ever seen any agreement or any, negotiations that are done when you are still striking? No, we don't do that. You have to go back, we sit around the table, we see it, and then we see what we can do. Please. And you see, for your information, let me tell you that you just made a statement. This issue goes beyond the Ministry of Health. It's a multifaceted issue, because the implementation of any collective agreement lies with the Ministry of Finance and not the mother ministry, if you care to know. It lies with the Ministry of Finance. And so the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health will continue to collaborate to find solutions to some of these challenges. And for your information again, last week, for example, all the players came around the table. The Labour Commission was there, Fair Wages was there, Ministry of Finance was there, Ministry of Health was also there to find solutions. Unfortunately, they didn't come. They were not there. I tried to place a call personally to some of them, the leaders. They were nowhere to be found. Some of them were even not in the country. You understand? And so, my brother, it is not as simple as that. But as you rightly put it, yesterday I moved around some of the facilities and I had the first-hand information. I assessed the grounds. But what I'll continue to say is that my doors are still open for any negotiations to ensue.
Minister, thank you very much. Kwabena Mintakalo is Minister of Health and Member of Parliament for the Dwaboso constituency. This is Eyewitness. Meanwhile, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association says a strike will continue despite an interim injunction secured by the National Labour Commission to halt the action. According to the association, it has not yet been served officially with a court order. The National Labour Commission secured an injunction yesterday after declaring that the strike by the nurses is illegal and they must return to work. But the Public Relations Officer of the association, Joseph Krapa, insists that they will continue with the strike.
If they think that they should serve as a letter, we can't prevent them. But what constitutes an illegal strike? Ever when in Ghana, the Labour Commission said that this strike is legal, it's only when they don't inform your office about the intended strike. And we did. You had a letter. If you are declaring it as, how do you call it, illegal or whatever thing, you are bringing injunction at it. That is your job to do. And we respect the court and the NLC very much. We are not abiding people. But just that things that we have not seen, we cannot act on them. I'm saying that we haven't received any letter. No, none of the executive have been serving any letter about that. So still, we know that Luta continua. We are still going on, holding on to our, we are still on our ground.
Responding to call by the health minister for the nurses to return to the negotiating table, Joseph Krampa said there's nothing left to be negotiated.
We were here when senior lecturers at the university threatened strike. We were able to sign, and then their condition of services. That one, the employer was able to sign all those things for them. Other unions who also stood up, you saw, yes, the negotiation is no more coming on because it has already been finished with. This is a document that has been signed. It is not now that we are going to sit down and renegotiate. Never ever. We just want the Minister of Finance to append his signature so that controller can start the implementation. Even the elsewhere government started it by instituting our, uniform allowances. And we are able to sit up to now, negotiation meetings that we've held so far, about 5 or 6, and still it's like you people are tossing us here and there every now and then. Let's do this. Oh, the letter even we have written to Minister of Finance, there have been some mistakes. Let's correct them. Oh, Honorable has gone travel out. You reschedule. We go. Let's form a committee. Does it take 5 months to do this? We are not talking about renegotiations. We are talking about implementation. If you take a letter, you send a letter signed by the finance minister to the controller to effect the decision, we can call off a strike today.
You are the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Joseph Krampa. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. We go for a quick break. When we come back, the Bank of Ghana records some 9.4 billion cedis in operating losses in the year 2024 compared to 13.23 billion cedis in the year 2023.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This advert is FDA approved.
Charlie, where are you?
Bossman, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Walwale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Masa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Oh, jump on now. Go. Ah, go me. And what time when you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I don't change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Cause now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind self be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. One pair way now open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish Magobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why you have the Magobe inside?
I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small.
Go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You're welcome back. You're still listening to Eyewitness News, coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafia, and tonight I'm here with Akusia Otre. Now let's go to the Bank of Ghana now, because the bank issued a statement yesterday, and it says that it has recorded an operating loss of 9.49 billion in the year 2024 compared to an operating loss of 13.23 billion in the year 2023. However, the bank in the statement says this represents a net gain of 4 billion Ghana cedis compared to 2023 financials, which recorded a loss of 9.1 billion Ghana cedis. Let's speak to Professor Patrick Esumi. He's an economist, to explain to us some of these details the Bank of Ghana has released as far as its financial statement for the year 2024 is concerned. Prof, good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to listeners. Thanks for having me.
When the Bank of Ghana says it recorded an operating loss of 9.49 billion in 2024 compared to the same in the year 2023, which was 13.23, exactly what is the bank trying to say?
Well, It means that if you compare the revenues or the incomes it generated from its usual activities, the activities that they are mandated by law to perform. If you compare the incomes they generated from that and the expenses associated with performing those tasks, then obviously they incur more expenses than the income they generated. And that is what gives the operating loss.
In the same statement, the Bank of Ghana outlined, some of the key drivers resulting in this operating loss. For instance, it says that cost of open market operations will cost close to 8.60 billion. When they say operating cost or operating open market operations, exactly what that means?
You will notice that one of the core mandates of the Bank of Ghana is to help maintain price stability. And part of that is liquidity management. So when there's too much liquidity in the system, it has to conduct what we call the open market operations. This is where it's buying and selling bonds and bills. Some of them are Government of Ghana bonds. Some of them are bonds that it issues for the purposes of monetary management. So with this open market operation is the process of buying and selling securities. All of that is to help to maintain the liquidity at desired level. So if there's too much liquidity in the system, they might decide to conduct an open market activity that will ensure that it's mopping up the excess liquidity. And then it can also do, if you want to pump liquidity, it might do the reverse. So that is what the open market operation is. That is an essential element of what central banks do to regulate the amount of money that is in the system. And that it comes with cost, because sometimes the cost comes from many sources. One of them is that if the interest rate movement, so at the time we are issuing the security, if the interest rate rises, it's likely that the value of the asset or the security issued will decline, and that will bring you a loss. But these are why the central bank is set up. So when there are losses because of open market operation, this is a central element of what they have to do. And in a period where interest rates are rising, you tend to see the value of those assets reduce, and therefore those losses are very likely. So the open market operation is a big part of what you do to ensure price stability.
Prof, the Gold for Oil program is also identified in this Bank of Ghana statement as one of the key drivers to the operating loss, because it says that the revaluation and exchange difference totaling 3.49 billion cedis, notably exchange losses of 1.82 billion on the Gold for Oil program. Is the bank then saying that Ghana incurred some losses because of the introduction of the Gold for Oil program?
Yes, I think, of all the items that caused the losses, I think for me that was the one that was quite problematic, because participating in that Gold for Oil is not part of the bank's core mandate. And if you look at what it's supposed to do, price stability, monetary, ensuring financial sector stability, if you list all the core mandates that the central bank is supposed to do, it's difficult to classify its participation in the Gold for Oil program as part of that. And at the time that the Gold for Oil program was launched, you recall that many people, questioned the essence of the Gold for Oil, because, it was kind of shrouded in a lot of secrecy, and nobody clearly explained exactly how you can trade gold for oil without some losses being incurred. It was always going to happen that there will be losses, because if people can sell their oil in the open market and you want them to buy the oil with a specified commodity that is not as liquid, then obviously somebody has to incur a loss. So even without this statement, many economists will know that somebody is taking a loss, except that we just didn't know. Now we know that Bank of Ghana is one of the institutions that took the loss. And I think for me that is the one that was very problematic. And it's important to know that in the financial statement somewhere it says that the board has approved that the bank withdraws from its participation in that program, and I think that's a good thing.
Prof, I'll say a big thank you for your time. Professor Patrick Esome is an economist speaking to us on the Bank of Ghana statements on the financial year of the year 2024. Let's go on to the other line and speak to Dr. Gideon Boaku. He's a member of parliament for the Tano North constituency. He wrote something on his timeline on Facebook, and he says, why hide the BOG gain under other comprehensive income, which is the OCI, and report only the loss of 90% driven by open market operation and not good for oil? Highly disingenuous. Doc, thank you very much for your time. If you say, what exactly do you mean by this particular post? You think the Bank of Ghana is being disingenuous here?
Sorry, can you come again?
I'm saying, what exactly do you mean by this particular post on your Facebook timeline?
Which one of them?
Specifically, you said that why hide the BOG gain under other comprehensive income and report only the loss of 90% driven by open market operations and not the gold for oil? Highly disingenuous.
So if you follow the Bank of Ghana for some time and how they have reported their financial statements, something will interest you. For instance, when Dr. Esiama was the deputy governor then, the period prior to 2016, the Bank of Ghana used the IMF reporting recommendation to prorate the accounts of BOG before 2016. Now that same practice and recommendation is what Ghana has been using all these years till today. However, what has happened is that this current management of the central bank, led by Dr. Esiama, decided that in the financial statements of the bank for 2024, they will change the previous practice, which is done in line with the IMF safeguard recommendations. That included that they reflected exchange losses and gains, revaluation losses and gains, impairments and movement in asset prices, including gold, in the operating accounts. And this is what the bank has been using before 2016, from 2017 up to now. Despite this, the Bank of Ghana Act provides a clear framework for treating these items outside the operating account. But the IMF had insisted that the bank uses the new treatment account, which the auditors have been using all these years. Now, what the new board has decided to do is to disregard that recommendation and reporting standards by the IMF. And that means that all the gains previously reported in the operating accounts of the Bank of Ghana have been moved to what we call the other comprehensive income. And once that is done, they have reported an operating loss, and then again in the other comprehensive income. Now, once you do that, you end up having to generate more profit to reduce negative equity. So you could see that in the reporting, there was a fundamental shift from the practice that the Bank of Ghana has been using in reporting their accounts to this new approach by the central bank. And that is why we are questioning why the governor decided to change the approach, because in your financial reporting, you either classify assets at fair value through profit or loss, or at fair value through other comprehensive income. Now you see, Ghana, we use the International Financial Reporting Standards, which usually the USA, which basically is the IMF, doesn't apply. That is why we have been using the IMF reporting approach. And in that case, if you are doing that, and for instance, on the balance sheet of Ghana, let's say at the end of 2024, if we had an asset denominated in dollars but reported in cedis today, if we are reporting the same asset, because the dollar value has changed, there will be a reduction in the value or asset, which shall be reported in the other comprehensive income as a loss. And so likewise, when there is a change in the rate up, the value goes up, and that must also be reported, okay, as a gain. But in the 2024 reporting of the Bank of Ghana, they have reported the loss in the operating accounts and then put the gain in the other comprehensive income. To me, that is not consistency. And when you don't have that kind of consistency, you end up having operating loss. Meanwhile, if you had reported the gain also in the operating account, that one was going to come as operating profit to offset the loss. So that is basically what we are calling for, and we are asking the governor of the central bank to show honesty that if you put the gains in other comprehensive income, why do you put the loss in the operating loss? The treatment becomes different. That is the thing. If anything at all, stick with the standard and the principles that the bank has been using all these years. Don't change it. When you change it midstream, it makes it difficult because just as Professor Suni was speaking, you are comparing 2023 loss with 2024 loss. Meanwhile, you have changed the reporting approach. Why do you change the reporting approach midstream and still you want to make comparison of the two when they are using different approaches? That is basically what we are talking about.
Gideon, in this same statement from the bank, the Bank of Ghana, especially the key drivers to the operating loss, the issue of the gold for oil also came in. And I read exactly what the Bank of Ghana says. It says, revaluation of the exchange difference totaling 3.49 billion, notably exchange losses of 1.8 billion Ghana cedis on the gold for oil program. In your previous appointment in the office of the former vice president, your former boss, which was very, very much involved in this gold for oil program, the Bank of Ghana considered this to be one of the losses or the key drivers resulting in the losses that we are seeing. The gold for oil program, many people say was not a program the Bank of Ghana should have gotten involved in the first place. And then recording these losses, it wasn't a good policy for the Bank of Ghana to get itself involved in.
Okay, so this is where the problem is. The Bank of Ghana reports a loss of 9.49 billion. And just as Professor Sumi explained, these losses are as a result of the bank's open market operations, basically to bring price stability. And mind you, the Bank of Ghana is not like the commercial bank that is profit making. The objective of the central bank is not to make profit. And so the central bank, offers several services without charging for those services. If you go to the commercial bank, every service that they give to you, they charge you. The central bank offers all those services to the country without charge. So the cost of printing money, the cost of open market operations, all of that will be registered in the books of the central bank as a loss. But it doesn't mean that the central bank has done something that is untoward that is giving this loss. So if you look at the 9.49 billion, I'm breaking it down to the gold for oil. The 9.49 billion, 8.6 billion of that total loss, which is 90%, is coming from the bank's open market operations. Why is this open market operation so high? When inflation is high, the central bank will have to step in to ensure that excess liquidity is mopped up and all of that. Oh, that is all that. Then if you look at the other breakdowns, you have what is attributable to gold for oil is around 1.0 billion. And that is what is attributable to gold for oil. And that is coming from exchange losses. It is not that in the execution of the gold for oil, some contractual operational work led to the loss. It's exchange losses, and there is a prudent reason why such exchange losses are not usually reported to reflect in the overall loss or gains of a company, because you may have a situation whereby the exchange rate goes high or low, and a company management will take advantage of it, even if they didn't do anything. Profit from the difference in the exchange rates, which is not actually under their control anyway. When the rate also goes high and they make losses, if you're not careful, you may think, oh, the company didn't do well because they have made losses. That is basically coming from exchange losses. And so you are always careful not to use exchange losses to judge or exchange gains to judge the performance of a company. Because you can have a bad management that will profit from the change in the exchange rate and say we have made profit. Meanwhile, they didn't do anything.
Okay.
And these are systemic risk that you don't have control over. The rate can change today or change tomorrow. But be that as it may, if you look at the overall loss that the bank made in 2024, which is not strange anyway, because those losses, 90% of that, are as a result of open market operations that the bank does on behalf of the country without charging anybody for those losses. And the loss that is attributable to the gold for oil is exchange losses.
Okay.
So I don't see where the Bank of Ghana is going with this propaganda machine from the governor to say that, oh, gold for oil made losses. And I've heard people say that, why did the Bank of Ghana even involve itself in the gold for oil? Ask yourself today, why is the Bank of Ghana involved in gold board? Every single gold, ounce of gold that has been bought by the gold board today was financed by the central bank. Let the governor come and tell us why he's financing gold board to buy gold and has a problem that the same central bank finance gold for oil for gold in exchange for oil. And then I've also had an argument from the governor of the central bank that the monies, about $4.4 billion that the central bank used to finance gold for oil, didn't come back to the Bank of Ghana. Let us ask Dr. Siama. The over so billions of dollars that the Bank of Ghana has given to gold board to buy gold, that they are saying that they have bought so much gold and traded so much gold. He should tell us, even if 1 cent has been brought back to the central bank, all the money that the central bank has given to gold board to buy gold, not a cent of it has been sent back to central bank. Where is that money? So I don't see where the governor is going for, and I'm sure he's not going to change his tongue very soon, because very soon the issues are going to unravel. And every Ghanaian will know the double standardness of the central bank governor, that he's accusing gold board, gold for oil, and the previous central bank management that the money they invested in gold for oil never came back to the central bank. I'm challenging Dr. Siama and the central bank to show proof of where the money they are giving to gold board have come back to the central bank. Not a cent has gone back to the central bank.
For want of time, I'll say a big thank you for your time. Thank you very much. Gideon Boakon is a member of parliament for Tano North constituency in the Bono region. This is Eyewitness News coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. Akuzia.
Yes, President John Dramani Mahama has highlighted government's move to reduce Hajj fares from 75,000 to 60,000. He anticipated a further reduction should the cedi continue to strengthen against the US dollar. He said this while addressing a gathering at the Independence Square during the art celebrations.
On the matter of Hajj, I'm deeply aware of the financial burden it has placed on many Muslim families. This year, despite efforts, the cost remained high, even though we cut it. But I want to assure you that we're working closely with the relevant agencies and our Saudi counterparts. And if Allah accepts our supplications and the cedi continues to show the recent strength that it has shown, I'm optimistic that next year we'll see a very significant drop in the Hajj fare. Indeed, if the Muslims who went this year were going at this time, the Hajj fare will be something like 45,000 cedis.
That was President John Dramani Mahama.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens. Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Hello there. Welcome to the holiday edition of the Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Akosia Orchid. The details. Now, there may be relief ahead for Ghanaian builders and contractors as cement prices are expected to decline in line with the recent appreciation of the cedi against the US dollar. Our chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, Professor Alex Dodu, says cement prices should start reflecting the city's recent gains. Now, he disclosed that some cement manufacturers have already submitted their 2025 ex-factory price declarations for the month of May, while that of June is set to be reviewed by the committee.
All the cement manufacturing companies have declared their prices for May, and in June, the deadline is the 8th of June. Several of them have also declared their prices. The Cement Manufacturing Development Committee, which I chair, will be meeting, and our job is to certify the prices. So our comment to them is that since the biggest driver of the cost of cement is exchange rate, and since the exchange rate is such that the Ghana cedi has appreciated, the expectations of Ghanaians is that prices will be moderated.
That was Professor Alex Dodu, chairman of the Cement Manufacturing Development Committee. Now, government officials are still defending the Ghana cedi petroleum levy introduced under the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Bill 2025. While they insist the impact on consumers will be minimal, Minister of State for Public Sector Reforms, Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba, says ex-pump prices remain lower than in previous years, and the adjustment is part of policy reforms to fix deep-rooted challenges in the energy sector.
Debt has been there. We inherited it. You know the quantum, about $4 billion. We need to pay. We can't allow it to be there. But that is why we are trying innovative ways to solve that issue. One is we are just asking Ghanaians, we have reduced fuel prices. So we are just asking Ghanaians that just pay 1 cedi on a liter. Last year, by this time, if you compare the price of petroleum products to this year, you can see that even with the 1 cedi, it is much cheaper than before. Then the other issue that has to do with innovation and reforms, we are trying to bring renewable energy. Our solar lamps, that the street lights, we want to see if we can make it solar instead of the normal electricity. That will go a long way. And even the energy minister is bringing another reform. He thinks that agencies and departments should pay their electricity bills so that we don't have bills sitting in the ministries and the agencies, which is causing us more problems.
That was Minister of State for Public Sector Reforms, Lydia Lamisi Akamvariba. Now, the Bank of Ghana is projecting a gradual recovery in its financial performance, despite recording a 9.41 billion cedis loss in 2024. What the central bank says, two major cost drivers, open market operations and also exchange rate related revaluation losses, will decline over time, easing pressure on its balance sheet.
The Bank of Ghana is signaling cautious optimism over its financial position, even as its 2024 financial report shows an operating loss of 9.41 billion Ghana cedis. The loss, while significant, marks an improvement from the 13.17 billion Ghana cedis deficit posted in 2023. According to the report, over 68% of the bank's operating expenses stem from two key areas: operating market operations and revaluation losses linked to the currency fluctuations. However, the central bank assures that both of these expenditure items are expected to decline in the near term. The bank says it will continue to operate a going concern basis and is committed to achieving its core mandates of price stability and monetary policy management. It adds that the Monetary Policy Committee will closely monitor economic risks, anchor inflation expectations, and support Ghana's macroeconomic recovery and debt sustainability efforts. Despite the current negative equity position, where liabilities exceed assets by 58.62 billion Ghana cedis, the bank insists it will remain efficient and resilient with long-term strategies aimed at rebuilding reserves and ensuring policy effectiveness.
That was Daniel Sakiti with that news desk report. Now, economist Professor Patrick Isume is forecasting a continued decline in Ghana's inflation rate, pointing to recent reductions in transport fares and improving macroeconomic indicators as key drivers. While Ghana's inflation is on a steady downward path, the latest data from the Ghana Statistical Service shows annual inflation eased to 18.4% in May 2025, down from 21.2% in April, a trend that economist Professor Patrick Isume believes could continue. He tells Citi Business News stability will be key to further ease price pressures.
The other thing that has been working in our favor is that global fuel prices appear to be on the decline. So then you have to weigh those balances. If the city stays where it currently is, and then also global prices continue to fall, we might see the fuel prices at the pump stabilize around where they are now. In that case, then we might not see a substantial reversal of the disinflation trend. But I think, just to add, we have to understand that the inflation number that we have seen, it doesn't reflect fully all the effects of the cumulative declines in fuel prices and then the transport costs. I'm sure you know about the pass-through effect. We haven't seen the full effect yet. So there's some downward momentum coming along in the next couple of days. So it will take something substantial for this disinflation that we are seeing to be reversed.
Economist Professor Patrick Isume speaking. They're wrapping up the holiday edition of the Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Akosia Autry. To stay with us, up next is Point Blank.
Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma. The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Polita is everywhere, durable and authentic. Stronger brand you can trust. Polita, we got some more and get some more super. And it Polita every day.
Polita, always the best. Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This is Eyewitness News, and next is Point Blank. On Point Blank tonight, the special prosecutor Kisi Ejabi has called for the inclusion of principle of lifestyle audits and non-conviction asset recovery in Ghana's constitution. He is also advocating for its application to both politicians and private individuals suspected to be involved in corrupt practices. Now, he made these remarks at the high-level conference on Ghana's anti-corruption architecture held here in Accra. We bring you a playback of the speech delivered by the special prosecutor Kisi Ejabi.
We are united by a shared resolve to build accountable, just, and corruption-resilient societies across our continent. The theme, Revitalizing the Anti-Corruption Architecture in Africa, Ghana's Accountability Journey, reminds me of the troubling refrains I hear echoing across boardrooms, markets, classrooms, and social media alike. The more laws we pass, the more people steal, and nothing happens. it is not uncommon to hear citizens ask, why can't I also make money illegally? After all, what will happen? On the streets, the sentiment is sharper. The law only catches the small fishes. The big men always walk free. Your Excellency, this is not cynicism. It is our reality that many have come to accept. If you glance through Ghana's political and legal history, you will know that this is not a new phenomenon. It is a cycle repeating itself with disappointing consistency. That is the imperfect architecture we are here gathered to confront and to rebuild with better clarity, integrity by design, and renewed political courage. There is an old Negro spiritual which probably captures the vicissitudes of the fight against corruption in our accountability journey. It goes like this. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, sometimes it's down to the ground. Our anti-corruption drive has been pockmarked by ups, downs, and sometimes downright downs. We begin by collectively acknowledging that we must fight corruption. That lights a glimmer on the horizon, accompanied by copious fanfare. On that ground, we commence the exercise of demanding and assuring accountability with righteous excitement and sometimes indignation. Each surge in corruption has been met with varied responses, from coup d'etat to commissions of inquiry that generated countless reports, most of which were eventually forgotten. Even during our 4 republics, under what is termed the rule of law, the relentless cycle was and is ever present. History repeats itself. Our positions on corruption perception indices remain firm within the average region. Then the reality of the enormity of the grimness of the human condition of repelling accountability sets in. That is, no one cheerfully welcomes scrutiny. Each of us privately hopes he or she will not be accountable for their actions. On that account, and as the pushback against accountability swells, we, somewhat overwhelmed, approach the enterprise of the fight against corruption half-heartedly. Then, by way of aggression, greed and individual interest starts eroding our efforts as rules are set aside and corruption permeates through. The glimmer on the horizon dims. Then we commence the process all over again. My recall of this reflection is not in the least intended to sound despair. It is aimed at awakening in us a renewed purpose to revitalize the anti-corruption architecture. For it is to our collective credit that when, by our own actions, the glimmer on the horizon dims, we have sought to rekindle it to a glow, even if dull, by not folding up, by not rolling over. Our restorative actions tell in us that deep down we abhor corruption, even when we paradoxically resign ourselves to some forms of corruption. And though our systems of fighting corruption may not be perfect, yet we keep retooling and reshaping them in the hope of fitting them to suit our purposes. It is as if we keep harming in our spirits a more melodious and less lamentatious version of that old Negro spiritual I alluded to signify hopefulness. Thus, we have embarked on our accountability journey throughout our quest of forging decent existence for ourselves. In our traditional setup, we hold high the principles of accountable stewardship. They are written all over our chieftaincy institutions and extended family systems. In statehood, they abound. And whenever we have reckoned that governance, in whichever form, did not reflect our ideals and aspirations and did not represent us, we have repudiated it firmly. And it was surely on the back of our very essence of assuring a just and fair society grounded in accountability that fortified our forebears in the 1890s to firmly reject the Crown Lands Bill of 1894-1897, which had the shrouded effect of reducing our lands into possessions of the English Crown. Indeed, the anti-colonial organization formed by our people Aborigines Rights Protection Society, sent a delegation from our then Gold Coast to London to drive home a point with success. Our argument was simple. There are no ownerless lands here. Every inch of our land is tied in with the soul, culture, and religion of our people. Therefore, our land could not be held to be anyone's possessions. If you desired a parcel of land, you negotiated for it. If the colonial government acquired land, it ought to pay compensation to the owners. Thus, the principle was firmly established at Westminster that in our then Gold Coast, native law will remain and prevail with regard to the devolution of land. Upon this fight and push, we saved ourselves the calamity that befell some of our African brethren, whereby the ancestral and heritage lands were ceded off to colonialists and foreigners. We kept the torch up so our lighters would not dim, and so in 1948, our outright repudiation of high-handed and unaccountable governance and grand corruption through boycotts of European and Asian goods and a 5-day countrywide rout following the clearly unjustifiable and inexcusable killing of peaceful protesting ex-servicemen by a white police superintendent, forcefully imprinted on the minds of the colonialists that our then Gold Coast, which had been touted as a model colony, was slipping away irreversibly. The Watson Commission, which inquired into the 1948 occurrences in our then Gold Coast, observed that we are convinced that there's a widespread and rapidly growing feeling among the people that they are being governed without their consent and in a manner which makes them feel that the government is not their own. Unless prompt and bold action is taken, the present system of government cannot continue. The Gold Coast had slipped away. This was how we heralded our independence from colonial rule. We are set on our 4th republic now, and may this be our last. The republican periods have been dot-marked by 5 successful military coup d'etat. It may well be that the fight against corruption has been a popular go-to rubric, either to get one elected or to enable one to seize power, as our history has shown. And though our efforts seem like disappearing acts, we have ever so much sought to make things work, and the refrain of the fight against corruption has underlined every government that has governed us. Indeed, the last 4 election cycles were battled out on the fight against corruption. And so, Your Excellency, it came to pass that we constituted about 50 corruption-related commissions of inquiry to stamp our opprobrium against corruption. Permit me to tell in quotes from the conclusions of some of these inquiries. The Cowgirl Commission, which investigated corruption in respect of the cocoa purchasing company, remarked in its report in 1959 that, quote, there are disturbing indications of corruption among some public officers. This was in 59, unquote. Then came the Earning Commission report in 1970 in respect of an inquiry into bribery and corruption in Ghana, and it opined, quote, bribery and corruption are widespread in Ghanaian society, manifesting in various forms such as kickbacks, under-the-table payments, and other illicit financial transactions aimed at influencing decisions or securing favors, unquote. This was in 1970. Then the military adventurers also jumped on the train and refrained. They all sought to justify their forceful takeover of government by pointing to corruption in the administration they wrestled power from. Here, General Ankra, one of the main architects of the overthrow of Nkrumah in 1966, he said, we have been called upon to rescue the nation from the tyranny and corrupt practices of the past administration, unquote. A few days later, the National Liberation Council stated on the radio, quote, we want to establish a government based on honesty, transparency, and integrity, values which had been eroded by Nkrumah's corrupt one-party dictatorship. This was in 1966. Then on 13 January 1972, when the champion overthrew the Buzia regime, he addressed us that, quote, there is a growing gap between the rulers and the ruled, fueled by greed, favoritism, and corruption. This was 72. Then General Ekufu, who staged the palace coup a few weeks after I was born, in 1978, by sacking a champion, declared that, quote, there is a deliberate and cynical disregard for accountability in the use of public resources by some officials, unquote. This was in 1978. On his second military adventure on New Year's Eve 1981, Rawlins, upon overthrowing the Liman government, lamented, "During the Liman administration, serious allegations of corruption against top functionaries and party intrigue, even in parliament, became a matter of idle gossip. Among the big men, it was even possible to arrive at settlements, sometimes judicially sanctioned, of these affairs. The wealth of the nation was merely the playground of its leaders." Unquote. This was in March 1982. Then we adopted our present constitution into force in 1993, in which we proudly declared the principle of probity and accountability built on a complex system of checks and balances. On the international scene, we ratified the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, ANCAC, on 24 June 2007, and the African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption around the same time. Under the Constitution, we established the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Hajj, and tried to clothe it with anti-corruption mandates under Article 218E of the Constitution. We then created the Serious Fraud Office, which we rechristened the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO, to tackle economic crimes with a sidewind criminal anti-corruption mandate. 20 years after running this model, it became clear that the Hajj anti-corruption model was impractical and it was not working. This is because Hajj's real intended purpose, as the National Human Rights Commission and the Ombudsman, rendered it unsuitable to fight corruption in the real sense, and the Article 218E mandate was clearly a stopgap measure for a much more robust and concrete future anti-corruption regime. Further, it saddled Hajj with dilapidating inundation, as it lacked any real power in the anti-corruption space, as its mandate does not involve any sanctions. This is because it is required merely to circuitously forward the outcome of its anti-corruption investigations to the Attorney General and the Auditor General. The YOCO setup was also not optimal. This was mainly because YOCO is an agency under the Attorney General's Department and is invariably able only to institute criminal proceedings on the say-so of the Attorney General. This rendered it incapable of tackling corruption, especially regarding political actors and politically exposed persons. The need for an independent institution with an effective and all-encompassing anti-corruption mandate became increasingly pronounced, especially during the institution of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, NACAP, in 2014. The underlying philosophy of the NACAP is the recommendation of the establishment of an independent prosecution authority to effectively tackle corruption. The thinking was that the Attorney General, being a member of Cabinet and the Chief Legal Advisor to the government, is not well suited to investigate and prosecute members of a government to which he belonged. There is still immense force in this thinking, Your Excellency. This was the chief consideration that informed the passage of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959, which established the Office of the Special Prosecutor in 2018 as a flagship anti-corruption institution of the Republic with a unique fourfold mandate of investigating corruption and corruption-related cases, prosecuting suspected offenders, recovering and managing assets, and taking steps to prevent corruption. Intended as fulfillment of a campaign promise during the 2016 presidential election process, the OSP is actually the satisfaction of Ghana's treaty obligations under Articles 6 and 36 of ANCAC that require state parties to establish independent specialized authorities to combat corruption through law enforcement, and Article 5.3 of the African Union Convention. Its outlook is also intended as founded on the Jakarta Statement on Principles for Anti-Corruption Agencies pronounced in November 2012 by parties to ANCAC. Your Excellency, the OSP model represents our best bet in tackling corruption, and upon this architecture, it is a unique and never before seen remedy designed as a cure of the inadequacies of the traditional methods we had previously adopted, which are characterized by the lack of real legal and enforcement powers and independence of action, as the model retains total control over the initiation of the conduct of investigations and the institution of criminal proceedings. Then again, the model affords political neutrality and non-selectiveness in the fight against corruption. For the first time in our history, The OSP model forcefully carries the fight against corruption not only in the province of public officers and public life, but also among politically exposed persons and persons in the private sector. The model is not without its shortcomings, as is suffered by every human construct. Yet we have a golden opportunity to once again retool and reshape it to fit our purpose.
That was a special prosecutor, Kisiye Jabin, speaking at a high-level conference on Ghana's anti-corruption architecture held here in Accra. And this is where we end today's edition of Eyewitness News. That came to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafe. Earlier, I was here with Akosia Ocho. The show produced by Beverly Landon and Juliana Odame Asari. Technical assistant, Desmond Nyako. Coming up next is the Sports Boys, the Sports Panorama with Benjamin Kojo Ketia, Christopher Nimley, and the rest of the crew. Good night.